Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everybody. So be informed. Aren't you happy you got your explosion? Yay! I know the explosion is a big time. I do want to change up my 5 minute timer. I did need it this time as well to get that little. I was doing the last little minutes updates. I came home much later than I was hoping, so there was a few things that I needed to do before starting this. So that's why I had the 5 minutes. But I'm glad everybody's here. As usual, my lives aren't terribly long. It's going to be 20, 30 minutes about, guys, unless you guys have questions or something, or want to come up on the panel and talk and whatever. But my presentation is 20, 30 minutes, and not that much longer than that. But thank you everybody for being here. So of course we have Shane. Thank you, Shane. How you doing? I'm hoping you're doing well. I'm doing good. Thank you very much. Hello, hello, drunken chef. How you doing? I hope you're doing well today. And of course, that's me. That's me. But we also have Luscious Dirty. Hey, hey, Lele. How you doing? Sorry I couldn't catch your live. Unfortunately, today was a busy day at work, but I will watch it on replay. So, guys, she did go live earlier. Go get her. Go check her out in her video and her live later on when you guys get a chance. And of course, we have the one, the only, the beautiful, the informed, who of course loves the explosion. I don't blame her. It's a nice little neat explosion that we have. And we have our favorite. Well, let's have a debate here. Is is the amazing MNG our favorite Jamaican, or is it Lash's Journey our favorite Jamaican? Or are we declaring it a tie? I think it's a tie. They're both my favorite Jamaican. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are all here. And yes, definitely, Shane, happy 4th of July to everybody. Yes, the timers can be adjusted. This one was one that I found that's technically preset, but you can have timers where you build it on your own and that you set it for whatever amount of time that you want. Um, I'm not quite at the level where I can tell you exactly what to do, but I can learn and or show you how to at least figure it out for yourself. But yeah, you can get timers that are shorter, that are longer. I usually just create my own thing and do my own little video, so that way it's really set up to mine and not necessarily with a timer. But I've seen timers of all kinds, of all different lengths. Yes, thank you very much, amazing MNG. I am at the 1K. Unfortunately, long story short, I'm not at the 4K needed for the watch hours, but I'm rebuilding that up and hopefully get in there. So, anyways, we'll get to today's topic, I should say. It is the death or cancellation of King Louis XIV. Hello, hello, Hedgehog Homestead. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you here, but I'm so happy. I hope it's not the last time I see you. I hope this is the first of many times that I see you on my live, and I hope to catch your lives or videos as well. So, of course, like I said, today's the topic is the death of King Louis XIV. Just to let you guys know in advance, I'm not a historian. I'm not an archaeologist, paleologist. I don't. I did like most people. I took a few lessons of history in high school and university and all that, but really not a whole lot. I'm by no means an expert on the topic. And like I said, it's going to be a very brief presentation. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of things I'm not going to be talking about, guys. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy this. Hopefully, and like I said, if you guys have questions, if you have anything that you want to discuss, let me know, okay? Don't be shy, guys. I'm going to answer your questions to the best of my abilities. If there's something I don't know, I'll let you know, but hopefully I can figure it out or get the right answer for you. So, we're going to go into a quick little commercial break and then we'll get right into it. Uh, So that, of course, was my usual intro, but here's also a second quick little commercial to introduce the topic. And I do want to get more into talking about things like history and politics and other stuff that I hope you guys find interesting. But if you guys aren't interested, let me know so I can switch it up and do things. But hopefully you'll like it. All right, guys, so let's get into it. Now, a lot of this information I got from um, a historical movie that I watched a couple of nights ago. Um, on Thursday night, I should be precise. And it is something that a historian made. So this is not something that I'm making up per se. This is something that I learned that is factually presentable. Hello, hello, Lexus Robocop, dude. How you doing? I hope you're doing well today. And welcome to my live. I'm so happy to see you here. Welcome, welcome. And much appreciated for you taking a few minutes with me and spending some time with me. So, Lexus, this live, like most of my lives, are going to be relatively short, 20, 30 minutes, and that's about it. But if you guys will have questions, if you guys want to come up on the panel or something, let me know, okay? So, today I'm talking about the death of King Louis XIV. Now, to get into it, basically, King Louis, good. I'm glad that you're doing very well, Alexis. Oh, it's great to know. So, King Louis the 14th was the king of what is now called France, obviously. He has the longest reign in recorded history of a monarch. He reigned for 72 years, starting at 5 years old and until his death in 1715 at the age of 77 years old. So he was born the 5th of September 1638, and like I said, passed away on the 1st of September 1715. He did have several children and so forth, and grandchildren, and nieces and nephews, and all of that. But Le Dauphin, who's his grandson, was basically the one who ended up taking over the reign as king, since his sons, so forth, ended up basically passing away not very much long after his passing. Just to give you guys a little bit of history, a little bit of background on King Louis. Hello, hello, Jen Gregs. How are you? How are you? I hope you're doing very well today. And yes, definitely, guys, chit chat, lashes, Shane. Don't be afraid. You don't have to be strict about it, but you can at any point drop your own links, links of everybody, but you do it at your own leisure, guys. Okay, so again, guys, if you have a wrench, you can drop your own links, other people's links. It's really up to you guys, okay? But if you don't want to drop links, if Lashes, you want to say, hey, Shane, can you do it? Shane, if you want to tell Lashes, hey, can you drop that person's link? Don't be afraid to coordinate with each other, okay? So, all right, thank you. Anyways, so yeah, so to give you guys some background history on King Louis, he's, like I said, King of France for 72 years. He was called the Louis the Great, Louis le Grand, or the Sun King, Roi Soleil. And like I said, he was a King of France for 72 years. And he was part of the age of absolutism. Okay, so that basically meant that at the time, kings were kings of the entire land that they ruled. They had absolute power, absolute control. Nobody could come in their way and tell them to do things differently. Okay? And they were kings by divine right at this point. Right? At some point, kings became kings because not necessarily that they were voted in, but because maybe they did a great act of war, maybe they were a respected soldier or general. Basically, they might have won an important war or something. So they were basically soldiers at some point. But at this point, kings were kings because uh, God decided that they were kings, right? So they were there by divine right, and consequently, they were considered as representatives of God Himself on earth. And there was a certain amount of holiness to the king and his body, right? People revered the king. People, you had to physically respect him, so you couldn't just go up and touch him or something. There was really a sense that the king was something different than the rest of us human beings, right? There was a certain amount of like I said, religious connotation to him and his body. So you couldn't just do whatever. Hello, hello, Devil Dog. How are you? Thank you for being here. Thank you, Lashes, for listening. I know that everybody's here is busy. I know you guys got other things to do, which is the other reason why I try to tend to keep this lives very short and let you guys just listen, enjoy, and if you guys need to move on, that's absolutely fine. I'm always grateful for whatever amount of time that you guys spend with me. So yeah, so basically, the king always had a certain amount of royalty and divineness to him. So there's that sort of sense of duality in his body, and of course there's a whole lot of pomp and circumstance to the king. There's whole rituals. You can't, like I said, just walk up and talk to him. There's meetings that you have to take place, and of course the king has final decision and final say on everything. So not even the pope, because don't forget, France is Catholic, so the pope is of course a very important figure in France in the kingdom. But not even the Pope could come out and say anything against the king. It was always the king that had final say on everything. So even the Pope, if there was anything that affected the kingdom, even the Pope had to get permission from the king. Hello, hello, professional paranormal research. How you doing? I hope you're doing very well today. So thank you for being here. Grab a seat, grab some popcorn. I have some beer at the back as well. So go ahead, feel free, guys. Help yourself to the quote unquote digital food that I have for everybody. So enjoy. So yeah. So basically, this movie really in particular talks about oh, the death of King Louis and his world. There we are. So basically, in the movie, you're looking really at a 3 week period, okay, of the death. So the last 3 weeks of his life. Now, the movie was created by, let me get his name right, yeah, by Albert Ferry, uh, Farah in 2016 and won Le Prix Jean Vigo. Okay, and because of its accuracy and how well it's done, and it was a really well made movie overall. I liked it. I'm not a big history buff, but I enjoyed it. So that should tell you guys something. And of course, it had several different actors portraying as historically accurately as possible, but not necessarily, everything exactly right. Now, the reason why they could accurately depict, or pretty accurately depict, the death of Louis XIV is because Louis XIV was always followed by a page that would write down everything. So they knew who, the people that visited him. They knew who said what and when, everything, right? So it's all recorded. Right now, there was a certain amount of liberty that was taken with the movie. In particular, you'll see at one point, or here I should say, um, a piece of Mozart music. Okay, and I will talk about it later on as well. But it's not periodically correct. Mozart was alive and composing his music about 60 years after the death of the king. So it's not quite periodically correct, but not so way off that it's so unnerving. Like you're not hearing music from nowadays, right? They're really still trying to stay accurate to the period. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this movie is that they're really using natural light and sound. So a lot of it isn't artificial. So they're candlelit. It's lit with whatever lighting comes in the room, and they filmed at Versailles in the actual church, not church. Sorry, in the chateau, the castle of the king, or one of them. It wasn't the one that he actually died in, but it was one of them that he owned. So of course, kings own many castles in many different places. Um, so they try to really stick to being as accurate. So if he spent out of the 3 week period, if he spent 10 days in the room, you saw 10 days in that room basically. So there's not a whole lot of exterior shots. There's not a whole lot of seeing the whole castle and him walking around and going outside and all that. Because, like I said, you're really seeing the depth of King Louis XIV, who last 3 weeks he was not doing very well at all. So, of course, like I said, lots of natural lighting. So consequently, at night, it gets very dark very quickly. You're not seeing a whole lot. You're not, seeing all the details of everything. And basically, you can kind of see the reverence that the actors are trying to portray that the real life people had for the king as well. Let's see what else. Oh yes, there's a lot of natural colors and lighting, but also a lot of focus on red, gold, and black. So if you saw this movie, you would really have a sense that you're looking at a Rembrandt painting. So you'll even see a lot of the times the figures have the look of a Rembrandt a portrait almost. And let me actually go look that one up so you guys can have a better idea. Uh, Give me a second here, guys. Right. Portrait. All right, so I'm going to show you, and obviously this is an actual portrait of Rembrandt himself, but he, of course, portrayed himself in the same style that he did his paintings. So this will give you an idea of the general look of the film. Now, of course, I couldn't videotape uh, the movie, obviously, for different reasons, but yeah, I didn't. So yeah, so this is Rembrandt himself, but this is the overall style. So basically, a lot of the actors had this basic look to them, and it's that same as you can see here, red, gold, and black, right? So it was really, you kind of felt when you were looking at the movie that it was very somber, very dark. That there was, like I said, a lot of reverence for the king. Okay, so that's basically the overall look of it. Okay. So, like I said earlier, the movie really portrayed the last 3 weeks of the life and death of King Louis, and really a lot of the people that were around him when he passed away, right? So it really showed the dynamics that was going on at the time, and really that seeking by the French people and those that were connected to the king to maybe do things a bit different in France. So this was pre-revolution, but not so before it. So you got a sense in this movie that there was like a lot of change in the air, that the French people really wanted to do things maybe a bit differently. In particular, and this is really apropos, right? The influence of science and medicine in political discussions and decisions, right? If you're American, you guys know that, of course, Roe versus Wade was overturned. This is a big decision that influences, of course, for women the capacity of getting an abortion. But this is basically the same kind of thing that was going on in France, right? So the king himself, because he was considered as a representative of God on earth, you couldn't just go ahead and poke him, right? He couldn't just go in surgery. His body was considered holy. Now, there was a debate as to what exactly caused his death, but accepted that it was diabetic gangrene, essentially. Okay, but they're not 100% sure of this. And it's one of those that they had to kind of take a certain amount of liberty. And you did see in the movie his left leg was basically black from knee down, essentially, and basically was dead, essentially. Hello, hello, Wiley Rich. How you doing? I'm glad that you're to see you here. So great to see you here. I'm hoping you're doing well on this July 4th, and of course, happy July 4th to all my American friends. I hope today you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys have big plans. And barbecue chef, if you're still here, I hope that you're planning a big barbecue for everybody in your family and neighborhood. And if I can come over, chef, please, can I have something, please? But of course, your cooking, I'm sure, will be delicious as usual. But yeah, so obviously for the king, obviously nowadays, if Queen Elizabeth, if she's sick, if a surgery is needed, they won't have a problem bringing her in for surgery or bringing her to the hospital, or she needs glasses. Okay, she got a pair. You know what I mean? For now, there is no sense of the king or the queen or the royal family member being gone on earth, right? They're just regular people with, a special power that was assigned to them that we as the people agreed that they had. But in that time, no, no, no. You are God on earth, so we can't just chop off your leg. And what was interesting is in that was one of the lines that they said once they realized that no, the king's leg is basically dead from the knee down. You hear him say, "Yeah, we just should have chopped it off," and his helpers, his doctors are like really shocked because it's like, whoa, wait a minute, like you don't hear a king at that time say that kind of thing, right? You don't just, it's like saying, yeah, we just need to cut off the a leg or limb of God. You don't do that, right? There was a major respect for God and religion, and basically, the king is God. So you don't question that. You don't undo or dismember the king in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of respect and venerance for the king as it is. Okay. So let's see what else. So of course, like I said, there was like a major conflict between science and religion. Obviously, there was still a major reverence religiously to the king. You really don't experiment. So at one point, you hear them talk about bringing in the doctors of the faculty of Paris. So these were doctors that are doctors on paper, meaning they have a degree, but they don't necessarily practice medicine in the quote unquote real world. Hello, hello, OG Patrice. So happy to hear that you're here. So glad to see you. I hope you're doing well. Happy 4th of July, Patrice. I hope you're having a great day and that you have wonderful plans for you and your family. And I hope you and your son are doing well, my dear. So yeah, so back at that time, doctors really didn't have the same kind of respect and responsibility as doctors do now. For the most part, doctors down there at that time were much more uh, theorists. So they had ideas as to how the body operates, but they didn't really have any kind of scientific background or backup. Autopsies were performed, but not necessarily a whole lot. It was still considered something unholy, something that like you just didn't really do at all, right? And at that time, barbers. Uh, don't worry, Shane. As long as you're just listening, you don't have to post anything if you don't want to. So don't worry, Shane. If you just want to listen, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry. Everybody here, I think, is mostly connected anyway. So don't worry. Sit back, relax, sit down, grab yourself a cold one while you're molding and all that. We got you. Don't worry. So yeah, so the doctors at the time were trying to intervene, trying to figure out what was going on, why he was dying. Um, Yeah, but don't worry. Yeah, thumbs up, and your time is more than enough. Don't worry about it, Shane. I appreciate your effort. Thank you very much. But I get it. If you want to just sit down and listen, don't worry. I got you. So yeah, so the doctors at the time were really much more theorists than actual doctors, so that they weren't really practicing a medicine, right? There wasn't like things like research and looking into, hey, let's, there's this medical degree or diploma, or there, it was really just a new field at the time, right? So it really wasn't garnishing the respect. And in particular, you see there's this one particular character um, where he would come in and it's like, oh, I have this elixir that will help him and really cure him. And of course, all the other experts at the time were looking at him like, yeah, no, this is a bunch of BS and was really questionable science, right? So it was really just, a battle of power between the king himself, who you got a sense sometimes that he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm basically screwing myself over because of what other people are expecting of me and the reverence that they have of me. Like I said, with this line that he said after that, yeah, you know what? You should have just chopped off my leg. So he had a sense of, yeah, you know what? Things should have been done differently, but because, oh, there's this whole pomp and circumstance because I'm the king, you guys didn't do it, right? And then of course you have the doctors that like want to poke and prod and want to do more than what they can to figure out the no worries, don't worry, Shane. But yeah, because they can't, because it's again the body of God on earth, they really can't do all of what they want to do, right? And then of course you have all the other the staff, so the page and his consultant and all of that, that really were sticklers to the rituals and things that you have to do. So you see. Oh, good, good. I'll keep that in mind, Shane. But yeah, so there was a reverence of things having to be done in a certain order. That you had to address the king at a certain point. When you saw that he was basically a day or two away from the death, of course they were continually trying to feed him, right? And you saw that at one point he ate a little bit of food. They were literally there, happy and applauding. Oh, he ate a little bit of food. Oh, wonderful! And literally applauding him for eating food, right? So at some point he was almost infantilized with him, although he was like a grown ass adult and like was a grandfather and stuff. But oh, you ate food! Yay, fantastic! Bravo! Right? Um, and so you had a lot of people that were really tried to keep things as it was, because again, the king was a symbol of how powerful France is and the kingdom. And really, if he dies, then it almost feels like France dies. And they weren't terribly wrong about that because soon after his death, his son took over. The son, when he died, of course, Le Dauphin died, and then after that was basically revolution after revolution, right? Don't forget Napoleon wasn't far off from this time period, right? And of course, if you were a royal or an aristocrat in France, that meant your head got separated from the rest of your body. So they weren't very wrong by saying that, yeah, France is changing. And you can kind of tell that the death of King Louis was one of those changes. And like I said, it was in part needed, in part, some people would, of course, doubt whether or not that was really what should have happened. So, yeah, that's most of what I have to say. I'm just going to revise quickly whether I missed out anything important. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, so some of the things. So of course, going back to medicine, there was of course a lot of different theories. No worries, Will. No worries. I get that. This is not one of those. It's like going to be like Everybody's like chit chatting. So if you just want to sit down and relax and listen, that's absolutely fun. But yeah, so they had a lot of different theories as to medical care, right? Again, this is was medicine was new. You're still dealing with, of course, alchemy and bloodletting and leeches and the Pope and so forth being the ones that are out here dictating as to how things are handled. So one of the things is that hot water was dangerous when you want to clean yourself up, right? So you did not take hot showers. You took showers, but it had to be cold. The reason behind that is because your pores opened up, and the way they understood how diseases worked at the time was diseases passed through touch and through liquid. So if you had dirty liquids going into your pores, i.e., your pores opening up after a hot shower, you would get sick, right? So that's one of the theories that they had. So you had to, when you took a hot shower, for a long time in many areas, you had to a have permission from a doctor to take a hot shower. But after you took a hot shower or hot bath, you had to wait until your body, your pores were all cold, closed and cold, in order to get out of the bath so that you would prevent getting sick. Um, Now, once he did pass away, an autopsy was performed. So basically, like I go back on that holiness of the king, the king was only holy as long as he was alive. The second the king passed away, that holiness of his literally passed on to the eldest son that took over the crown. So the second King Louis passed away, he was no longer, yes, he was still technically the king, but he was no longer ruler of France. It passed down to King Louis XV, and that same and King Louis XV was now the holy representative of God in on earth. So now King Louis XIV was no longer holy, a holy body. So an autopsy was performed, and that's when they went in and looked um, in his body. And it's important to note that at that time, it wasn't the doctors that were performing surgery; it was the barbers. Yes, I know it's surprising to say. I'm always like, well, it's not the first time I hear that, but yes, barbers were surgeons as well in many cases. So a barber had to be hired in order to perform the autopsy. That's right, Shane. Yeah, exactly. It was barbers that often were surgeons and were often in control of performing surgeries or autopsies in this case. So that just shows how very different medicine and science were considered. And of course, the whole idea of washing your hands and things like that, of course, was not something that was really, considered or done. You just went ahead and washed your hands after, and that's it with regular soap. Sorry, without soap, you just wash your hands with water, and that's it. So if the king, God forbid, had some kind of blood disease, they could have very easily have contaminated themselves. So I'm just trying to find where I wrote because the song that I want to talk about, I know I wrote it down. It was a piece of music written by Mozart, and I'm just trying to figure. Oh yeah, so it was. I'm not. Darn it! I'm not understanding my own handwriting. Darn it! I knew it was gonna happen, but it was a piece of Mozart in C minor. I think it was Requiem in C minor, if I remember correctly, by Mozart. Now, this was one of the few exceptions, like I said, where it wasn't historically accurate. It was really much more a kind of symbol of what the king was going through. So for the few seconds that you heard the song playing, you're seeing just the king and you're hearing him breathe, and that's it. That's all you have in front of you. And then the music abruptly stops. The king closes his eyes, and we move on to the next scene. So, oh yeah, Yeah, I'm the same way, Shane. I don't like cold showers at all. Give me the hot showers. I would have hated back then too. Yeah, yep. Barbers were surgeons essentially. Not necessarily all of them, but many of them were obviously trained as both barbers and surgeons. So yeah, you kind of have a sense of what was going on. So of course, there's a lot of people that because of different conflicts also were vying for control. Thank you, Lexus. Thank you. Vying for control of the king because again, this is the age of absolutism. So the king himself was in power, but you saw a lot of other people try to influence the king as well in order to sort of, especially since they knew he was dying, so that they would gain more powers individually, or like I said, with the case of the doctors and the Faculty of Medicine of Paris, that they would gain much more respect if they were able to cure the king or what have you, right? Um, so there were a lot of people near his deathbed or that were involved in his, in his not necessarily his demise, but were around him when he passed away. So you'll see characters as Lebrun, Lalonde, Charles Perrault, Claude Perrault as well. A lot of these people were doctors or medicine, what we would consider as doctors, but were medical experts, or were considered as fraudulent and really had to be evicted from the castle and so forth. But a lot of them were also consultants. You saw at the beginning of the movie, you saw one consultant that was trying to get him to intervene in a particular decision where they were going to receive materials, construction materials from Egypt. And he was trying to say, well, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but this will also allow us to build the castle and make it more protected and so forth. So you had Lebrun, I believe, is the one that was a British consultant and who was, there to consult the king on how to protect his castle better on a physical architectural level, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. They were trying to make decisions, and but because he was still technically the king and still technically the one with the power, that was part of the demise of royalty essentially because they saw that you know, this king who was dying, who's not all there, were really was not in the best capacity to make decisions, and they couldn't make decisions because he's the one with absolute power, right? So he's the one who's controlling still, even though they're trying to make decisions, even though they're out there, they know what's going on, they know, or at least they feel that they have what's best for France in mind. So there's almost I guess, a power struggle amongst his ministers and people around him and so forth. And of course, at the time, he had a mistress because at this point, the mother of his children had passed away at this time. Let me see if I can get her name. I forgot her name, and I know I wrote it down. The mistress had now, of course, the king can only marry once, but he can basically have as many mistresses as he wants. He is the king after all. He is God on earth, so you can't question him. So if you want 10 mistresses, well, guess what? Excuse me. Let me just see if I can find her name. Yeah, sorry, I can't seem to find her name at this moment, but he did have a mistress that apparently they loved each other and informally got married because, again, at this time, don't forget, guys, you got married once. So if the husband or the wife pass away, well, that's it, that's all. Even the king could not escape that. Yeah, chain dentists, all they also did dentistry and so forth. But yeah, so the king was informally married to another woman. Uh, he probably had a few illegitimate children with this woman and probably other women as well, because you did see him. at the beginning of the movie, sort of take his hat off and do that typical French little bow that you would often stereotypically see. Um, and basically the one of his consultants talking about, oh, this marquise would do you well, or this princess is very pretty and keeps secrets. So you kind of see him being offered these very beautiful young women to sort of uh, help him regain his how do I say it, his sexual appetite to hopefully encourage him to be on this planet a little bit longer, right? So you see again some of the things that we permit the king to do that nowadays, if if us as women, especially if we get told that our husbands are being presented women before their death, but some of us may not to be may not be too happy about this, right? So of course, a king back in the day, you could permit yourself such things and such indiscretions, and nobody would really question it or find it abnormal. Especially in France, where of course this is, Paris, the city of love. So of course, a lot of things were permitted. And at one point, and I'll end on this, is of course you see that he does bring in the cardinal to come in, and of course he proceeds in the last rites, because again France is Catholic, so they often take on the Catholic tradition. So he does bring in the cardinal to baptize him, and he does his last rites, so he confesses and things like that. It's very important that he goes through Catholic traditions of death as well. And one of the last things, once he is in his last moments of life, you see ask for the cuff, the casket of gold, and his dad's coffer. These are two little boxes, basically, where one of gold, and of course the other is his father's. And basically, you see him take papers out, he takes documents out. Some he keeps to his left, and the others he gives back. And basically, he gives back and he burns them or has them burnt. It's believed that the documents that were burnt, these were confidential government documents that could only be seen by the eyes of the king himself, or maybe a couple other people, and that's it. So there were most likely state secrets, or maybe things that the father said to his son that only could be said from father to son, or and things like that. While as a document he put to the side, it's okay if people saw that. That's normal. There were maybe his last will and things like that, right? So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. May I have helped? May. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I don't know if anybody wants to come up. If you guys don't have any questions, if you guys don't want to come up, don't worry. You don't have to participate. You can at any point just sit, listen, and that's it. But that's pretty much what I want to say. So, like I said, 49 minutes, a little bit longer than I was expecting, but that's fine. But I hope you guys found this interesting and informative, and I hope you learned a couple of things. Let me actually see if I can, while I'm waiting for you guys to decide whether or not you guys have questions, if I can find that music from Mozart. Okay, I'm not too sure if it's this one, but it seems to be about right. So I'll just stop my music. I'll play only a few seconds of it, because obviously I do have to worry about copyright. And then after that, we'll end on this pretty much. So we'll play the little bit of music here, just a little bit, 5-10 seconds, not too much. I think this is the right one, but I could be wrong. So I'm hoping that I got the right one. Hopefully. Hopefully, please, dear God. No, of course, it's a commercial. Well, luckily, at least put on the mute. Ah, two commercials. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you for your two commercials. There we are. Yeah, I think this is the right music. And that's it. So obviously, like I said, because of copyrights, I can't play too much music. So that's pretty much it. Hello, hello, Emily and Chaos Rain. You guys come in as I'm ending, unfortunately, but it's okay. You guys are here. I'm glad that you guys did come in, regardless of whether you came in at the beginning or at the end. So happy to have you guys here. But yes, this is the end of the show, unfortunately. So today I talked about the death of King Louis XIV, who is, of course, the king of uh, France from 1638 to 1715. He was the longest ruler of any country as a king. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you, Alexis. I'm glad that you had a good time and that you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody else that you guys also enjoyed it and had a good time and that you learned. If you guys do think of questions afterwards, don't be afraid to comment on the video and say, "Hey, I forgot to ask this. What about that?" Or if there's something that you want to bring up or what have you, don't be afraid to do so. So, guys, before you leave, don't forget to like my channel and to, of course, like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so. Of course, thank you, Shane, for dropping links. So, hopefully, guys, you guys are linking to each other. So if you guys want, obviously the chat will stay up for maybe up to 5 minutes, from what I understand. So if you guys want to scroll up, if you've been in the chat the entire time, you can scroll up and you can click on the links that Shane was gracious enough to drop and connect with each other, please, guys. So thank you, Shane, for dropping the links. And thank you, everybody, for being here and taking some time to listen to my little tiny video on the death of King Charles XIV. So I hope you guys liked it. So of course we're going to be leaving now. So I hope you guys have a great 4th of July for those of you who are American. And I hope you guys have a great day and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you everybody for being here. Have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful day as much as you can, guys. So, merci beaucoup. Thank you, everybody. Bye.